Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Well. You know, sometimes people click a button on their phones or on their computers and voices come out. Is it sorcery? In the Middle Ages, it definitely would be. But now, it's probably a podcast or a YouTube series, and that series is always strikes last. And if you've gotten this far into the intro, you're used to this shtick by now. But welcome to yet another episode of our vaunted podcast / YouTube series.
Yeah.
Beep and boop, fellow travelers. Beep and or boop.
It's a good stick. I like it.
Yeah, I did too. You know, come around the fire, listen a while. Well, often, as is the case, late recording, doing some zany stuff, but we have another one for you today focused on the factions, you know, getting back, you know, in sort of this nice interregnum period to the brass tacks of our beloved game and sort of the competitive side, which is what are these armies you encounter? Let's get under the hood a bit with them and talk about what makes them tick. And sometimes these are full books, you know, but sometimes they're slices of books because of the ways people can play in sort of thematic or limited ways based upon how they dice them up or the sort of I suppose, like forced choices they have to make to go down one of these paths. And today is such a day. Today we have our very own Matt talking about a little played variant of the Gloomspite Gitz book, which he has enjoyed, but you still might run into, and it's good to know about, or maybe if strikes your fancy, how to make work for you. And that is the spoons, the spiders, the other elements of the book.
The red-headed stepchildren of the editions, right? We all know the models. We love them. They make great 40K conversions, and that's about their lot in life until hopefully we get some kind of war cry update to the spiders, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, spiders are great. I think they're my favorite Gloomspite Gitz army. They just have so much character and old jungle goblins, right? All of the fun.
Oh, yeah.
And they're really kind of an unloved, underused, like sub-faction of the book, right?
Very much so. I feel like they're cool, but they're not the top ones people just seem to show up with, right?
Yeah, even our local, like, famous Gloomspite Gitz player, Ricky, I don't think he has a full army. And if he does, I don't even think they're put together. As the only person insane enough to own enough spiders to run a purely spider army, let me try and convince you of their worthiness.
Please.
Yeah, so Gloomspite Gitz, I think by now we've all been run over by the new book enough times to kind of know the ins and outs of their basic rules, right? The moon moves, it makes things better. Spiders, it specifically makes their one mechanic better. And the one mechanic that all the spiders have is their venom.
Yeah.
Which means they live and die by sixes, right? So on a critical hit, you'll throw mortals with any like venom weapon from spiders. So with the newish book, we did lose like the spider boss on the larger small spider. So we have even less models now. Well, what do we do?
Well, I got a real quick, Matt. Aren't there armies that where, you know, roll sixes to do the mortal wounds is their mechanic anyway, and they're doing good, right?
A few of them for sure, right? I mean, it's not the Cruel Boys shtick.
We got Cruel Boys. Everyone's still freaked out about Lumineth. So there's Slanesh. There's gas in this tank. Corn with the Bloodthirster bombs, I believe, still do the mortals.
Yeah.
And that's true. But the one thing that Gloomspite Gitz has always kind of suffered from is they have individual factions. And those individual factions don't generally support each other. So the rules are never going to be overarching, making mixed lists kind of interesting, right? Because the battle formation that you choose kind of does define where your buffs are going to go. And when you're playing spiders, you are kind of at the mercy of everybody else's rolled up newspaper battle formation that they can use on their entire army against you, right? So it is a mechanic that is very helpful when you have an answer, or at least the basic idea of an answer for different roles in the army, which the spider subfaction is pretty fleshed out. I think it's probably about 6 different units, which is big for a subfaction in a book.
Yeah.
And, the more you think about it, you can add other things to it. But the viability is really kind of, what's it going to be?
That seems fair, and maybe just at this point, because it'd be fun just to kind of give all of our auditory listeners just the quick prestige. What are the big 6? I mean, I'm looking at the scrolls right now. I'm kind of missing
list
something.
List them out.
All right, so for heroes, if you want to go pure unadulterated, spider people,
we do.
Yeah, you got the web spinner shaman on foot.
Mm-hmm.
You got the web spinner shaman on a Ragnarok.
My favorite.
Yep. You got the always popular spider riders. Then you have the Ragnarok Spiderwood Flinger and the Ragnarok Spiderfang War Party, and the ever popular Skitterstrand or Ragnarok. So literally 4 of those 6 scrolls are a big monster. One of those is a cavalry unit, and one of those is a foot wizard. And of course, I'm sure you'll get into it, Matt, and it's something you probably unlocked. Exactly how deep do you go with spider? Is it okay to go full spider, or is it like 80% with some tech pieces? You'll let us know, but that's kind of like the heart of the thematic army. That's where the poison's coming from.
Yeah, and so it's worth noting that each one of the units in here, sans the web spider shaman, I think, has the ability to throw venom, right? So that means that, take your basic spider rider, right? They'll have 2 attacks from the spider fangs, which will crit mortals. They are companion, but that doesn't matter. They also don't have any rend. This army has very little rend, by the way, right? You are focusing 100% on your crit hits, which is another thing that, Khorne and the other armies that we were referencing earlier kind of, they can mitigate clearing screens a little bit easier by reducing the armor save. With spiders, you gotta just go all in. But that being said, 1 spider rider, that's 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, but all you're looking for is 6s, right? Now, it's 5 spiders in a unit, so that's, a good base 10 attacks looking for crits, right?
110 points. That's not bad.
Yeah. Well, 5 is 110. 10 is 220.
Okay.
So if you're looking for 10, that math is hard, but that I think it turns out to be 20 attacks each unit for a full-blown big old blob of spiders, and that will net you probably, I don't know what the math works out to, but it feels on average like 6 to 7 mortal wounds from a full unit per turn.
Now that's with 21 attacks with 10 spoons. Right?
Just 20 attacks because they don't have the bonus from the spider fangs because it's companion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's right.
So the companions, it's worth noting, are the ones that provide the mortals in most of these instances because it's the spiders that they're riding, right? So there's no real buff there, but at their base, 110 points for a movement 10, which is nice and fast, 2 health, which is nice and actually sticky aroundy enoughy for a little unarmored goblin, 2 control each, which is huge for a cavalry unit.
That is.
And a 5+ save. So not the most survivable, but they do also have a standard bearer and a musician, meaning you're getting an extra dice for rallying. And, if you're in a situation where, let's say, you've only got 5 left from your 10-man unit, that's 11 for taking something away from a monster, something you wouldn't normally expect spider riders to be able to do, right? Or cavalry in general, because generally cavalry is 1.
Even my eels are at 4 wounds each. It's just one. That's nice.
Yep. So they're definitely what I would call as is all the other spiders in this little section of the book. They're kind of sleeper units, and what they do is they quite literally sneak up on you in points if you're an objective first player. The other thing that you'll see across the army is that they pass over terrain features like they have fly. So if you're 10-inch move and you measure back to back, you can make it over quite a bit of things very quickly, very easily, especially on like terrain dense boards, depending on the tournament or, your buddy's basement, wherever you're at, right?
Yeah.
So they're deceptively fast. Sorry,
right?
Go ahead.
They don't actually have fly though, right?
Nope. So that means you're also able to hide in woods, right? They have a lot of sneaky, like I said, sleeper abilities, which make them situationally pretty cool. I myself like to play armies that play well into situational differences, right? So having the ability to just say, oh, well, I can go into cover here, to not be shot at, saving my 5 and up saves, saving my all-out defense for that one pivotal moment, right? Saves you CP. They've got the speed already. With a 10-inch move, it adds up over time. They're actually...
That it's not rolling for movement characteristic.
Yep, it's dependable. You know exactly what you can do. And you can also catch people off guard, specifically because you can charge over a piece of terrain that somebody would have thought they were safe behind, right? Because you move as if you have fly. So very, very good when it comes to dealing with situational elements wherever the battle plan is taking you. And then the hilarious thing about this army as well is it throws an insane amount of plink damage. Almost every unit in the army can shoot. So cool, great, grand, wonderful. It's goblin shooting, right? You get 2 attacks at base. It will go up as we go into the larger spiders. Sure. 4s to hit, 5s to wound. Expect nothing, gain everything. The cool thing about it is that it's 18-inch range. It's one of the longer shooting profiles in the game for a basic shooting attack, right?
It really is.
So you've got very, very long range plink damage. Spider riders themselves also have the guys riding on top of the spiders actually have their own attacks as well, which is basically the same thing as your shooting, right? So you've got plink damage and shooting, you've got plink damage from combat if you want to finish people off there. But it's all low quality stuff until you can hit 6s on the companion attacks across the board, right?
Yeah.
So right off, we need to realize that when we're using this unit, this is going to be the only one that we're going to be able to spawn to. If we're using spiders as our main, like, what we used to call battle line unit, right? They'd be the only ones that can come back through the
shrine.
Through the shrine.
Yeah.
Mine's a tree conversion, so I always forget that it's supposed to be called a loon shrine. Mine's just a loon tree. With spiders all over it, because
love it. We love the theme.
So when you're returning, units back, you want to be able to build around it, right? So just expect that you'll want all the spider riders, the spoods for your dudes to come back. Will only be the babies, because everything else is a monster. So you're very, one of the great things about the spiders themselves is because they're so situationally good, they can tackle a lot of different adversarial problems, as opposed to if you were limited to just playing trogs, right? Trogs are going to survive, but they're not fast enough. They're not going to be able to get where you need them to be, which the spiders can do. And they're pretty one-dimensional. You see Trogs coming at you, you know what they're going to do. You see Squigs, they're going to go fast. They want to charge you because they ain't going to last through a shooting phase, and they're not going to make their points back because they are mildly expensive at the moment, right?
Yeah.
And then with the dogs, we've gone over extensively with the dogs. I think they actually, in a mixed list, complement the spiders the best, which is hilarious because it's just a low rend all around, right?
Yeah, they try to play in a similar space, but I feel like the spider mortal wounds versus the situational rend on the wolf charge.
It's not what I would lean into. With the wolves, I would take them in a spider-centric army, actually.
Okay.
And there's a couple of reasons for that. The regiment that I would always choose, and I'm sure other people have other opinions, but the one I will always choose for Spoods is got to be the Gloomspite Horde, and that's because that offers a free movement, right?
Okay.
So the rules for this is you pick up. It's called Spreading Lunacy. Once per turn army, at the end of your turn, right? Pick up to 3 friendly non-Squig Moon Clan or Spiderfang units in combat to be the targets. For each one, you make a pile-in move with the target, and then on a 2 and up on a D3, you inflict that amount of mortal damage on the enemy for each one of the rolls.
Okay.
So now you've got 2 chances at throwing mortals. Very low volume still, but you're also getting extra movement, meaning at the end of the turn, you can get up onto an objective, possibly getting more of those control 2 bodies onto the objective, right?
Yeah.
And remember, this is also great for if you have done what I would call like a disordered charge, where half of your unit is kind of like trailing in, right? Let's say you're going up against like, I don't know, what's left of a unit of I don't know, a Stormcast that's down to 3. And they've whittled you down to like 3 models. One of those is your standard bearer. You can then get them on. You've now got 2, 4, 6, 7 attacks or 7 control score.
Yeah, I mean, right? Even alone, someone screens you off an objective. They get this move to get the extra pilot since you've cleared them off.
Yep.
And now you can take it.
Yep. And so it leans more into the mortal wounds expectancy, right? Helps to shore up if you roll a little bit poorly on your 6s. But also it's the free move. It plays objectives very well, especially if you have to take them from people, right?
Yeah, let alone you get something like with Tzeentch in their Weird Flame, only going on like 1 unit a turn generally anyway, unless you get 2 with an artifact. But if you get in a couple of these potential to go off each turn, was it 2 or 3 units that could do this?
It's 3.
3. All right, yeah, you get 3 shots to do mortal wounds. That's about how many, even with like disease points on Nurgle. Having like 3-ish units, because hopefully you're killing some. That similar enough, and it just happens as long as you can pile in. You don't have to try to do an extra infect or light them on fire or whatever. So, okay, this got some utility to it.
Yep. So as you can see, nothing is like super special, right?
And that's all just bad.
It's a higher chance of getting more mortals and capitalizing on the things that you're already doing, right?
Yeah, better board positioning too. Okay.
Yeah, so it's really helpful for that.
It is.
So they're going to be the core of most lists that you'd see, unless you're a madman like me and you listen to what Mason says and you start building all those lists. Of which it's a great idea. I'm going to go through a couple of them in just a sec.
Please.
The other little surprisingly toolkitty kind of guy is the web spinner shaman. Now,
Okay.
He's the guy that comes in your large Ragnarok box, unless you have a couple of special conversions for him. And he's a guy. He's a little baby boy with a 6-inch move, 4 health, 2 control. Used to be 5 until that got eroded, thankfully, because that was wrong. But again, 2 control for one little dude, which is awesome. A 6+ save, which is very normal.
Yeah,
but he is infantry. And he's got some pretty poor, attacks. He does actually. I was incorrect. He doesn't have venom. He just crits mortals on his staff.
Oh, okay.
3 attacks with that. All you're looking is for 6s, but it's D3 damage, right? So if you get super good, then maybe. But it's not envenomed, so it won't be able to take the special under the moon buff. So he actually has a really, really cool ability, and it's in your hero phase only.
Okay.
You can pick a friendly Spiderfang unit or a terrain feature within 18 inches of the dude.
Oh, that's a lot.
And then on a 2+, you remove him and set him up wholly within 3 inches of that target, but more than 9 inches from enemy units. So where this guy works really well is if you want to yeet him over for a next turn, like position where he can take an objective, he can be a general pest, he can cast some interesting spells if you want to go the route of making him loon touched. He has the ability to just bounce around and add wizardy support because it's in your hero phase. So you could slingshot yourself and then cast, right?
Or get him out of trouble, or
Yep.
Oh, that's some good utility.
Yep. So if he's in combat with something, you can just slingshot him out, right? You Spider-Man your way across the field. And then one of the other really cool things is it works really, really well with his ability to slingshot himself. Is he's got his War Scroll spell, which is you pick a friendly Spiderfang unit, and it's wholly within 12. And then on a roll of 6, the target can run and still shoot and charge if they want later. Which again, we know that all of the army shoots pretty much, except for this little dude.
Yep.
And run and charge is super good on a unit that 10-inch movement. You can force a 6, right?
Yep. Spend that CP.
So that's 16. Now you got a 2d6 charge, and then you got a 3-inch pylon. So you've got you can move really, really fast with this army if you play it right.
Yeah.
So those two are kind of like the hidden gems. Now, I know I've kind of kept on referencing the ability to pop off with the mortals on 5s. There are multiple ways of doing that. The first is the moon. There's 2 cycles of the moon that will allow the Spiderfang to actually just pop off on 5s.
Right, 2 out of the okay.
So that means I think it's 4. There's a bunch of cycles.
Sure.
For the moon. But 2 of them, at the very least, allow 5-up mortals board wide for spoods.
That's nice.
Super good, right?
Yeah.
When there's also a spell that you can use, which can randomly put you onto the moon, to the moon side that you want, right? So you have the ability of really kind of like pushing things around. Part of it's dice rolls, part of it's luck, but pushing the moon back into where it needs to be so you can have 5+ mortals from, what did I say earlier? 20 attacks, right?
Yeah.
So you can critical mass very quickly, right?
Yeah.
The other way of getting that is by using the Dank Manifestations Malevolent Moon. That thing is 12-inch range, right? So You can basically pop that down where you need it. If you know that the moon is going to go out of the phase that you're going to be in, or that you need it in, right? Set that down. There's now your bastion of the moon. You can use
Let
it.
alone you can have the foot shaman bamf over to somewhere where you need to go and support it and then pop that out.
Yep. So again, this army is all toolkit, all situational, right? There is no strength in it on paper. It adapts to the battle plan that you're in, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So you've got two sources of the moon right there. Now, this is where, like, I think a lot of people kind of stop looking at spiders, right? Like, we see the big ones, and they're either too expensive, and we want them for a couple of things, which we'll go into, but there's no dedicated list built around a lot of this stuff because the points differentials on all this become very lopsided, right?
Sure.
So there are essentially, there's one giant hero, one monstrous hero, I guess, and then 3 other spider models. And those are the cream of the crop. Now, it comes down to like your play style. I generally don't use one of them. But those are, let me go ahead and pull these up so I don't say them incorrectly.
Oh, sure.
Like a fool.
Like a nerd.
Like a nerd. Those are generally the Arachnarok spider with the Spiderfang War Party, the Arachnarok spider with the Flinger, and then a Skitterstrand Arachnarok. So those are your 3 like monsters, and all of this, and then the hero, which we'll get to in a little bit. Those are all kind of built out of one kit, which generally goes for like 60 or 70 now. So it's actually a fairly cheap army to build if you're doing a mixed force. However, like if you're going all monsters, it gets really expensive really fast in the same way that any other big monster army is going to be, right? So I think
that makes sense so far.
Let's go ahead and start out with the one that I don't use. And maybe, dear listeners. Go ahead.
So they don't get their own spell lore because they just get the Gitz one.
Mm-hmm.
Are there some artifacts that really stand out?
Oh, I'll get to that when we get to the heroes. But generally, it's the ones that you pay for.
Okay.
The great thing about these lists is if you're building these kind of like lopsided lists, you'll want those extra, the clammy hand or clammy cow, and loon touched. Those are the 2 that I generally build for. One is -1 to hit, right? And then the other is +1 to cast. So those 2 are generally what I go for. That's about 20 points each. So 40 points out of your list, which you're generally, because if you're going to rely on some monsters, which you'll probably want to unless you just want to flood the field with spiders. I don't blame you. It's a lot of fun, but also a lot of inconsistency can be had from doing that. I would recommend those because it really keeps your heroes going just a little bit longer than your opponent expects, and the extra +1 to cast can get really nasty when I get to it.
Okay, I'm excited. Hit me with it. What's the first list?
So, I'm gonna go through the rest of the war scrolls. I want to talk about those first. Then
sure, talk your shit, man.
So we got the three basic monsters, right? The one I don't use. I just haven't found it fits quite yet, is the Flinger, the Arachnarok spider with Flinger. Now, it's got the basic Arachnarok spider profile, which is super awesome, right? It's a 10-inch move. So again, your entire army, sans the little web spinner shaman on foot, is going to move 10 inches. You have a very fast army that counts as flying over terrain. Huge pie plates, meaning you can very, very easily squish somebody off of a terrain objective. That being said, it messes with where you're going to put your stuff as well, right? So you have to really plan it out.
Not to mention, too, something that I was thinking about with how you can just charge over all the different terrain that's obscuring these days is you can position yourself to not have to worry so much about like a covering fire situation.
Yep.
With you and, in your own turn. No, I'm liking this one more. Keep going.
Right? Spoods are secret awesome sauce
They
playing on
are.
hard. So all of Ragnarok basic profiles, 10-inch move, you got the speed.
Yeah.
16 health, which is really good for this guy. 5 control
In
and a 4+ save, right? So that's
how many points is this spider?
Well, each of them are a little bit different.
Okay.
Let me pull up. See, here's where he got me. Rocco got me. I didn't put all of their points in.
My bad.
Oh no, you're great. Great gobs of gravy, good. The
Thanks,
flinger
bud.
is 230 points, so it's almost cheaper than half of the cavalry out there that you'll run into, like dedicated cavalry.
Huh.
That being said, you're 50-50 on whether or not you have as many wounds as they do. They're going to have more control score than you for the most part because most cavalry out there has a musician.
Oh,
right?
sure.
So,
And a
or
banner.
banner. So they'll have 6 generally, like base level. And then once they pump up, then, but this guy's not there to actually, get any, get on the objectives. You want him out of the way so he can shoot his flinger.
Yeah.
Which is crit 2 hits, 24 inches. You get D3 attacks, 4 is the hit, 3 is the wound, no rend, 1 damage. And that's exactly why I stopped.
Yeah.
There's no actual damage coming out of this guy. He's got the normal spider bows, which any spider model with the Howdah will have another 18-inch range, 10 shots at 4s and 5s. No rend, 1 damage. So your basic plink damage.
Yeah.
But then we get to the cooler Ragnarok spider profile, which is going to be 8 attacks, 4s and 2s, rend 1, damage 1. Great. There's your chafe clearers, right?
Yep.
Any of the Howdahs will have crooked spears. That's 10 attacks, 5s and 4s. No rend, 1 damage, more plink damage. And then the fun stuff. Monstrous spider fangs. These crit mortal, they are companions, so you're kind of limited there. But they hit on 3s and wound on 2s. They're rend 1 damage, and they're 3 damage each.
That's nice.
So, if you've got the moon around and you got a couple of these guys, even this guy, who is not meant to be in combat right away, on 5s and 6s, you're going to throw a lot of damage, right?
Yeah, a lot of mortals.
Yep. So one of the real supposedly good things about the flinger, which I haven't been able to make it work, it's the one that will never make it into a list until I figure it out. All of these spiders also do have monstrous rampages, right? So a rampage.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Flinger is on a 3+. You subtract 1 from attack characteristics of companion weapons.
Oh.
Meh.
Well, I mean, as a Deepkin player, I just got my heart dropped a little bit, but yeah,
Meh. I don't want him in combat with a Deepkin player. I want him shooting because on a 2+, after something is hit, not wounded, not suffer damage, on a 2+, the movement is halved.
Oh, no, Matthew.
And it's not pick a unit. It's if any attacks made with this unit's flinger score a hit. So you can half the unit of an entire army with 2 of these guys. Really cool, but not enough damage for me to say worth the points, because points are hard. Points are hard in this army.
Yeah, that needs to at least be like a D3 damage, if not a flat 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. A piece.
So that being said, that's still really good, right? That is a great situational tool. It just does not work for me at 230 points. What does work for me, and for 10 points less, is the Spiderfang War Party. So this one has a control 10. on top of all the other profiles that it shares. The 10-inch move, 16 health, 4+ save. Control of 10. You've got Bellacore for 220 points, essentially, when it comes to holding an objective.
Yeah.
This one has the same spider profile with the crooked spears and the blink damage shooting of 10 attacks, 4s and 5s, right?
Sure.
But really, really cool thing is once per turn army, so you really need to plan it out how you're going to use this. For its rampage, pick up to 3 enemy units within 1 inch of it after the charge. Roll d3, and on a 2+, it's mortal damage. So, mortal. Do you see where we're going here? You see where we're going? We can steamroll some mortals, right? So at 220 points, you've got control 10. You're going to outscore a lot of those single infantry that are costing about the same 220 points right away, just by existing. So I'm at least 2 or 1 of these in each list I find is very interesting. And then we have the Supreme Toolkit. This one is the Skitterstrand. Now this one is actually 190 points, so super cheap.
One. Is this the deep striking one?
Yep. And this one is only 13 health because the bamboo or the howdahs actually apparently count for health.
Yeah, you got to count each goblin on top, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So you lose the blink damage of both the shooting and the spears on these guys, but they have a really, really fun deep strike, right? So any movement phase, and essentially, I think you can actually do this on deployment. I don't think you can. Nope. Yeah, you can. Okay. So the way this works is deployment phase, you can set them in reality tunnels or whatever, right? So deploy them in deep strike, and then they can come up anywhere in any movement phase more than 9 inches away from enemy units, which is really, really good, right?
Yeah.
Really good. Now,
especially for an army that can't do that normally.
Mm-hmm. The only hard thing is if people know you're going to do it, it's not like you're going to be able to skirt over into a corner, right? What you really want to do with these guys is put the idea of force up front. So they're
play an honest game by having to watch out for the deep strike.
Mm-hmm. And more so, what they also do is if there is a spot that's starting to open up, you just set them down. Now people aren't going to be able to hit that objective. They're going to have to charge around this giant base to get to it. Yeah. You can actually gum up a whole area if somebody doesn't have fly. Just put yourself in between 2 pieces of terrain so they can't actually make it through it to move around you. The bases are that big, right? At the very least, it stops your opponent's movement and actually forces them to move around or charge, which... if they charge, great, grand, wonderful. You probably have 2 extra CP hanging around because it's not like you're spending it on all-out defense that much, right?
True.
And you're only fishing for 6s, so all-out attack is kind of useless.
And it also makes you think about it, too, because in a world where there aren't necessarily a lot of screens right now, having a Skitterstrand being at, you said it was 190? Someone's going to have to dedicate something probably of more points value to screen out this big ass spider. And then, just by having at least one of these in reserve, your opponent's going to be down 300 some odd points at least, because it'll probably be a reinforced unit. And that's what my thinking is. Because so many people are just bringing, just 3 or 4 maxed out units. You're already at a nice little advantage positioning wise of where you can actually apply your force and your board control, because they have to be mindful of one stupid spider.
And it gets even scarier. So The Scuttling Terror Rampage is probably the coolest one. It's like the old
all the spiders.
huh?
It's the one that's all the mini spiders, right?
No, it is. It is their. It's their version of the old Beast Claw Raiders dump truck move.
Oh,
So
Rampage.
if it's charged, you roll a dice on a 3+. It can move 2d6, and it can pass through the combat ranges of enemy units and pass through infantry units, but it must in that move in combat, right? So bonus, if it's an infantry unit, you can inflict D3 mortals against one enemy infantry unit that you've moved over. But the cool thing about this is now that terrain is almost everywhere from everyone, right? The faction terrain.
Yeah.
You can set yourself down, charge for a little bit of movement to get yourself maybe, let's say, right up next to that terrain, and then move your 2d6 to get you on the other side of that terrain, of which an objective or a threat could be, right? And then you can throw all your attacks at the terrain, or you can throw them at the enemy unit, whatever it is. Somebody could say, oh, well, I've got this one area screened out. You do a good 7-inch charge that they're not expecting onto the terrain, or a 9-inch charge, or even, let's say you get really lucky, make a 12-inch charge onto the terrain. Suddenly you're in somebody's backfield, especially if they're infantry, either messing up their terrain or just using that movement from the enemy terrain to get somewhere else, right?
Sylvaneth hate this one trick.
Yep. It is a smorgasbord against Sylvaneth. So they're another one of those, like, subtly, they're okay. 190 points for fairly survivable, maybe not as many wounds as you'd find on some cavalry, maybe not as tough as a 3-and-up save anywhere else, but you get them in the right spot, they've still got poison fangs, right? On 5-and-ups, good to go. So very, very, very good toolkit for being oppressive in certain situations, while the rest of your really fast-moving army, gets the job done on objective play, and then tries to critical mass into certain opponents. And again, with the piling in, the monstrous rampages, you can really throw a lot of mortal wounds just with this army, right? Now, for the cream of the crop, my favorite unit, and the one that I try to use all the time, every time, that would be the web spinner shaman on the what's it called, a Ragnarok spider. This one is super good. Same basic, like howda profile. 5 control on this one, not the 10 like the war party. You still got your plink bow damage, you've got your chitinous legs, you've got your crooked spear plink bow damage, you've got your monstrous fangs for your 5-and-up mortals of 3 damage each. But you also have that spider god staff from the web spinner shaman on foot, so you have the chance at critting mortals there, right? So possibly D3 damage. If you roll a 6, you never expect it. It's really funny when it happens. But these guys are the secret sauce. These are what make the Spood armies great. And that's because they have a native +1 to casting for friendly Spiderfang wizards while they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. So there is no limit on this. It is just add 1 to casting rolls for friendly Spiderfang wizards.
That's funny.
So you can double up with Loon Touched if you want to put on a web spinner shaman on a Ragnarok, and you can get +2 to cast natively.
That's really rare in the game these days. It's
really rare to get a +1 to cast, right? So like you get it with Bacchanal of Blood from vampires, but like it's very, very, very rare. I know Daughters of Cain have it with what's her face, big old god lady.
Marathi? Did she get her +2 back?
+1, I believe.
Okay. I was
Not
gonna
+2.
say.
I think she has +1. I never use her. Bots, not gods. Bots, not gods.
True.
So this one does have some interesting situational stuff as well, which is its rampage is an infantry hero within 1 inch on a 3+ has strike last, which is really good when you're within 1 inch of a hero with a giant monster, which generally you're not going to see that much, right? Unless somebody's doing an all foot cast list or something.
Well, the other thing that we see a lot of foot heroes with is when it's, when they activate a unit with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the niche thing for foot heroes these days. So actually having something to kind of counter that, that's actually kind of nice.
Yeah. So I guess I don't run into those. The ones I run into are either monsters or cavalry that are doing the chain attacks. So I guess it hasn't presented itself yet, but that is actually super good. Now that you're saying it.
Yeah.
And that's really it. That's all this guy is. He doesn't even have his old spell, but he is +1 to hit native. He makes any of the web spinner shamans on foot +1, and then if you add Loon Touch, now he's +2 to cast. Right. So why is that good? Probably a couple of reasons. I don't really know that much. All I know is I hate rolling for spells because I generally don't roll spells well.
Yeah.
But we can look at the spell lores, and there's actually 2 of them, and I always take the book one. That's because of bad portents, which goes off on a 6, right? So if you're +2 to cast, you're getting that on a 4. You're getting that on a 4, meaning you every turn are almost damn near guaranteed to be able to move the moon. So there should never be a point in the game if you're playing nice and cagey with the shaman and sending them out when they need to be sent out, but making them your second wave, right? There's never a point where you shouldn't have the moon right where you need it. Either from the spell coming out, because instead of a 7 to cast, it's actually a 5, right? For the endless spell or manifestation, or just moving the moon around, of which you can do both, because if you have 2 of them, you're +1 to cast on one, +2 to cast on the other. And then if you have a little web spinner shaman, he's also +1 to cast. So easiest army to kind of break the casting, right?
Yeah.
The other spells in this lore are admittedly a little iffy, except for one.
I'd like to bring up the point, if you're going to countercast and you've got all this stuff built in, that helps a lot.
Well, the great thing is you're +1 to cast with that one guy that you have Loon Touched.
Yeah.
In a countercast, right?
Yeah.
So there's never a point in the game where you're not out wizarding all the other wizards. And as tiny little goblins riding giant spiders, I find that hilarious because techless can deal with it. Right?
Yeah.
So one of the spells that's actually really nice to throw out is Spormons, right? You pick up to 3 enemy units, 2 and up on a D3, they're taking that many mortal wounds. So now you've got a mortal wound in almost every phase except for shooting. That's coming out. You've got end of turn. You've got combat. You've got hero phase. You have movement.
Yeah.
I guess charging.
Yeah, with the rampage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So once again, you can really kind of deceptively build up a critical mass. The other really, 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 really good way of using these spells is, let's say you got pushed off into one section of the board or the other and you need to redeploy really quick. Mm-hmm. Well, Hand of Gork normally goes off on a 7. Now it's going off on 5s. For those who don't know, Hand of Gork is basically the teleport spell that every Gloomspite Gitz player knows and loves. But we get to cast it on a 5 as spiders. And that means if my sad shaman on spider is going to be charged in the next turn, where he needs to be on the other side of the board, it's a pretty reliable chance that he'll get there.
Yep.
So this one is wholly within 24 inches of the caster and more than 9 inches from all enemy units from where you can send him down if the spell goes off. And he can't be in combat. So you do have to make sure that you can really, plan ahead. This army is not for the faint of heart. You have to really plan ahead. You have to ensure that when you go critical mass, you do it all at once.
So you're saying the Spoods have to have one deadly strike, ambush predator.
Kind of. But they also need to survive that strike. The one thing that you need to know when you're playing Spoods is that you're not going to kill everything that you expect to. You're going to kill even less than you expect to.
Yeah.
When you don't need it.
It's about giving yourself chances to even try to kill stuff. It's about playing the board control, playing the movement game, denying space. And also as the fun, get out of jail free card, if you know that your hero is out there and they have the battle tactic to kill a hero, just bamf out and be done with it.
Yep. Slingshot yourself
that track of them to start that battle tactic, the better it'll be for you.
Yep. Now I still feel that these guys play into my beloved scouting force and wrathful cycles very well, because
I love it.
Scouting force, they're all fast enough to do it. The majority of your army, if you're going to be playing spiders as your core, should be the spider cavalry, right? It's going to be very easy for you to skirt around for one turn outside of your deployment zone because you have 18-inch shooting that you can plink damage people and be just generally annoying while you're getting the objective sauce done, right?
Yeah.
And because you're playing the objective sauce, right, you're putting that objective sauce all over your game of tasty meats.
Big old pizza pie of scoring.
Yep.
That means that you're bound to have somebody double you to try and catch up. So that means that Daring Resurgence is very, very, very actually easy to do with this army because you either go big or you get dropped. And so when you go big, people have to make those moves that then open themselves up to mistakes, which means, right when that happens, usually half of your units are going to be in combat, right? Because you want them to be in combat from mid-game onwards so that they can continue to throw mortals, continue to plink down, and just wear down the enemy. So
that makes sense. I do think there's something kind of there with the movement, because I just think the Spider Riders have so much flexibility. They're so fast. They're relatively cheap. They're cavalry. So like even with the min size, 5 string outs are such good blockers. And you have all the movement from like the skitter strands, teleporting, and like the slingshotting, shamans, that a lot of matchups. It could be one of those things where it's almost like they've lost, but they don't even know it yet, because you're going to score the primary. You're going to make it so they can't catch up to you there fast enough, but just by fighting through bodies and spacing until they have to double you to give you more tactics. Meanwhile, you have the body blockers to maybe stop them from even getting on to do stuff like scouting or like do anything where they have to like kind of be outside their territory. I mean, the right matchup, they can literally be locked out of points, even though they're just killing you, just not quickly enough.
Yep. And the great thing about it too is because you have OC2, a lot of those matchups on objectives to take objectives, you're going to end up winning. So like they really do, they punch upwards very well in the right situation. Again, it's very hard because a stiff breeze will knock the entire army over, right?
Yeah.
So you really have to critical mass on even just a basic unit of liberators to eat them alive.
So, the other thing too, though, that is a positive here is a unit of 10 Spider Riders comes back as a unit of 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's still a lot of OC late in the game when things are getting drawn out here and units are out of place.
Yep. That being said, the one thing you always want to remember is that you should never expect any of those crits to go.
Yeah,
right?
as the big warning sign, put that as the thumbnail. You don't expect it. Don't plan around it. It's awesome when it happens, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
So every engagement that you have with him is either we throw everything at this thing until it dies, or we are going to lose this unit to gain that objective. Like we're going to gain that objective this turn, lose that unit next turn.
Exactly. But it's earned its points. The 5 Spider Riders have sat there with their 10 OC just outside of the range and didn't get it.
Yep. And past turn 3, though, the army, the way that it plays does change. Your units stop being expendable because at that point, people have come in and taken bites out of you. And you can return units of 5 each turn, right? But they're still going to have to make it up the board. They're still going to have to be relevant because they're coming from the Loon Shrine. The other weakness of this army with the Loon Shrine is that this army wants to be moving forward. And so if you have a unit sitting there wrapping the Loon Shrine, that's a unit that's technically not doing much for the entire game. So it's always being worth remembering that.
Maybe, and this is you know better than me, Matt, but maybe it's almost like the Loon Shrine, like protect at all cost mentality isn't as important here. Like it's back there, but it's just a source of pooping out the units that died in the front to still continue to screen the back.
Yeah. So that's where list building comes in, right? And so I made a couple lists we can go over if you guys want.
Definitely.
Oh, please do, man. Please do.
So the first being Spood Spam. And this is just, we want to be oppressive. We want to be in your face turn 1, and we're going to do it in waves. So this is a lot of Spood bodies. In this list, I've got 3 regiments. Remember, we're using only the pile in immortal wounds for all of these. Even if they're monster heavy, the pile in immortal wounds adds up over time. And that's how you have to play the army. So just remember that for each one of these, at the end of the turn, picking 3 of those units, they're piling in, throwing mortals. But for this one, first regiment, a web spinner shaman, who would be the general. He's got all of the fun clammy cowl and loon touched on it. Actually, I don't think I gave them. Let's make sure. Here I am, second guessing myself after every list when I've written so many of these. Nope, this is the one without clammy cowl because we don't care. We just want those guys in there. So we've got the clammy hand to help with rally. And then we've got the backstabber's blade because it's hilarious. If you're stuck in combat with somebody, then your web spinner shaman is already dead. Might as well throw some mortals at him before you die, right? So that general has with him 4 reinforced units of Spider Riders. That is 80 spoods right there. Wait, math is hard. That is less than 80 spoods. That's is 40. 10, 20, 40 spoods right there. Math is hard.
Math is hard.
Yep. Next regiment, a web spinner shaman with 20 more Spider Riders, 2 units reinforced. So there's your 60.
Okay.
And then another regiment with another web spinner shaman and 2 Skitterstrand Arachnaroks. The idea of this is that should I want to reduce some of these down to like individual units of 5, I have room in those 2 regiments to split a couple up, right? So the way this one works is you just flood the field with bodies. You can actually make a screen out of the guys that you're going to have coming back from the shrine later, right? So those guys wrap out, protect everything. And then when you need to pounce, the skitter strand can come in either same turn or separately, however you want to do it. And those apply pressure to scare your opponent into having to deal with them. And that's where your spiders are just going around playing scout and wrathful the entire time, right? They're not worried about fighting you. They're worried about getting objectives, getting forward, getting that one piece of terrain, staying out of combat, right?
I like it.
So super simple, flood the board. You can split up some of the reinforced units as you need, and you're good to go. Easy peasy,
Like
right?
that. I like that.
No thoughts, only spoots. Now,
I mean, it's pure. It's pure venom.
It is pure venom. The only thing that you will be missing out on is the +1 to cast, right? So what you're doing with your shaman is getting them around to where you need to be, making sure that, you know, some of your spider riders are being able to charge in after a run to tie up an important unit, right? Just barely getting into combat with them so they can't bring out, like, when you're charging them, you're hitting them.
Spell.
Yep, you're hitting them right on the side of their screen, so they all have to pile in against you, right? You're not even really worried about damage output. This is just board control and nothing else. Next one is one that I actually do run quite a bit, at least the closest iteration. And that is the Web Spinner Shaman on, well, that is the kind of a mixed list. So this is the one I've been having the most fun with. First Regiment, Web Spinner Shaman on a Ragnarok Spider. That homeboy gets the 2 Ragnarok Spiders with Spiderfang war parties. That's such a mouthful. In that regiment. So I can drop down a bunch of pie plates, look nice and evil as I do it. And then 1 reinforced unit of Spider Riders. It's first regiment. Second regiment is, go figure, another Web Spinner Shaman on a Ragnarok with a Calamity Cal, so he's -1 to hit. 2 Arachnaroks, so I've still got that forward oppression. And then 2 units of Spider Riders reinforced. So that's 30 Spider Riders. And this list is more critical massing at a single point and relying on healing, bouncing over things, ensuring that when everything gets to a spot, nothing survives because of the spiders. So the Spider Riders themselves, generally, because you want to play a little cagey, you want to make sure you're not knocked out early on, those are going to be screens in the beginning for your big units. And then from turn 3 onwards, you should start expecting to lose 1, bring 1 back, lose 1, bring 1 back. And if you play correctly, everything goes perfectly. You have 3 units, or starting turn 2, turn 3, you have 3 units of 5-man Spider Riders still going out, capturing objectives, helping out, putting out fires wherever the other big spiders are going. This one is a lot of fun. And you can actually go back and forth between removing a Spider Warfang party and putting in more Spider Riders, right? Because they're both the cost. So a reinforced unit of Spider Riders is the same as an Arachnarok Spider with a Spiderfang War Party. So those are interchangeable. You can mix them out at your taste. Generally, I like 2 because it's hilarious and they're control 10, right?
Yeah, no.
But
that control 10 is a lot of reason right there.
But playing with 1 is actually really good. A lot of my lists that I have done have been just 2 of the shamans, 1 Warfang party, and 1 Arachnarok, and then I capitalize more on the Spider Riders, which they're all good.
You know what I wish you had in this list?
What?
I mean, both these lists, really. You tell me I'm crazy, but the Nurgling Regiment Renown that I have popularized.
Oh,
that could be really interesting. The thing is, these do come at a pretty, let's see, how can I say this? the amount of potential mortal wounds that can come out of the army are priced in. And you don't really realize it until it's on the board how squishy they are. So like it is always kind of a fight with points in these if you really just want to play the web spinner shaman. Now, I'm going to have to try it. Now I got to figure out what I'm going to convert that up from. Probably the spiders from the Warcry warbands. You
the little spider swarms. Oh my god, they're so fun.
I'll have to do that. So next one, which is a very Mason inspired list. So this one is oops, all control 10. Web spinner shaman on Arachnarok spider with loon touch, so you got the extra +1 to cast, so that's +2 to cast for that homeboy, and the clammy cow -1 to hit, so he's staying alive a little bit longer to capitalize on that +2, right? 3 Arachnarok Warfang Spider War Party, blah 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 blah, longest name ever for a freaking unit. So 3 of those in that regiment. That's the first regiment. Super easy, super simple. That's control 35 right there. If you can fit it all on an objective.
That's glorious.
Second regiment, same exact thing. So that's 2, move them up, get them on there. Hey, let's see if I can roll a ton of 6s. Or 5s, because you should very much be able to put out a spell that goes up with one side, and then you have your moon. So two of almost the exact same regiments. That's 2 web spinner shamans and 6 Arachnaroks war party, and then just to have all the fun, a web spinner shaman who can bounce around wherever he's needed, and just make a little bit of sneaky, grabs in the backfield, being that one guy that they don't want to leave out alone because he can just go from one piece of terrain to the next. All of the fun. And in this unit, he can actually just be an annoying little thing because his ability to cause the run and shoot and charge works on everything in the spider list again, right? So you can send one of those war parties up on 16-inch move and then, charge. It's first turn charge half the time. So a lot of fun with that list.
That's fun.
It's a lot of fun. While it doesn't seem like there's much there, there is still a ton of different things that you can do to build the army in unique little small ways. You can add, Drog for reducing pile-ins, which is huge to save like spiders if you're really concerned about keeping them alive. It is like a nice little thing to keep in mind that, you can always put your old war party or your old war spider guy, the model that was discontinued, on Drog's base. I think it goes down to a 50 instead of a 60. And he's actually got good utility in this list. He's also dependably fast, and he has debuffs that really help the spiders. And then another kind of like secret thing that you can do, and I think you have to put him in his own regiment if you're going to do it, is to add the, let me pull him up here because I was going to pull him up, the Rabble Rouser.
To get the extra movement off of the spiders.
Yeah. So this guy actually works kind of interestingly as another way of getting run and charge, right? So you can get 2 units running and charging if you're doing a big monster list and you want to like ensure that you've got multiples going up quickly. The ability to get this guy in the backfield also kind of works in the same way as a as a shaman on foot does, right? Only he's already starting back there. So he's already something that people are going to have to waste time hunting while you're using that potential run and charge move or whatever. There's a lot of strategy that I've been trying to work out where you put the rabble rouser on one side of the field and then you drop down into Ragnarok on the other. So every time he's charging from the opposite side of the field, he's moving faster to get over there and taking out whatever he needs to along the way. There's a lot of interesting ways of getting him to work. There's a ton of honorable mentions with Gabapalooza. We all know that they do fun stuff. Adding one to run and charge rolls is super big. As well as adding one to rend, which actually gets really helpful for a lot of your plink damage.
Yeah.
And then, dropping commands on enemy units is actually really helpful when you don't have any real native rend. So, you're keeping them away from saving on 2s or 3s. And then like the last one that I would say is actually an interesting unit to be helping the army in general. And if you convert them up as like spore spiders or something, the spore splatter fanatics are actually really, really good. And that's either the Scourge of Garan or the regular ones.
You get the soggy ones are making the cut.
The soggy ones do keep survivability on your 5 and up save units, right?
Yeah.
5 and up and 4 save units with -1 from attacks, going to be looking good. But the original ones are pretty good too, right? So if you're subtracting from the attacks of melee weapons used by enemy units anyways, and I think they give 1 extra attack to themselves, they actually put out a little bit more damage than the soggy ones, if I remember correctly. So they can be supportive as well, without, am I right on that? 3, 4, yeah. While having a little bit more dependable output, because of that +1 attack working on them. So at the base, they'll have 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, run 1 D3 damage. Whereas the soggies, they're base 2. But the normal guys are D3 and they would be +1 to themselves. So I actually lean a little bit more on the regular spore splatters.
Okay.
But yeah. I think those are like the best support units for them. Like obviously any of the other units in the army are going to mesh to some degree. Like having squigs in to break a line is going to be awesome, but you're fighting for you're fighting for points at that level, right? So like as a mixed list, I think they're great. They need to work together to really take something down, though. So that's where you can see other units really just taking over in that matchup when it comes points to points, because they don't have the damage output that the rest of the book does. So that's probably why we see them slept on a lot. But they're definitely a great toolkit army, where you're forcing your opponent to make decisions they wouldn't normally have to make, due to their kind of like toolkit of abilities, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Them's the Spoods. This is why I like them. Now, would I say they're like top tier competitive? No, not at all. If you want to become a better player by focusing on battle tactics and winning by the edge of your teeth
and board control.
Yep, and board control. This is a really good army to like focus on that. The models are old, so there's that. Yeah. But that also means they're relatively quick to paint. So like and the army is just very, very. It's got a lot of heart, though. Being a lot of those classic models.
I love it for that scrappy, old, kind of like fun retro hammer.
Good for your speed paint and contrast paint because it's the flesh of the goblin and the flesh of the spider.
Yep, and it'll scale up too. Like there's not a single spider that looks bad, but you can get the more time you put into the army from a hobby side, the more amazing it looks as opposed to sitting next to squigs. And that's said from somebody who loves squigs. So like the army has a lot of personality, both on the table from the models, but also in the way you play it, right?
Yeah. And it plays well with the new dogs, like you said.
Yep, and it's good support.
Even a 6-pack of trogs wouldn't be horrible.
Yep. You can take out a spider, you can take out an Arachnarok. Great way to do it is like if you do want to do a mixed list, but you want to do the spiders as your base, those lists that I put in there with all the big monsters, you can easily replace those with big unit of trogs or a giant unit of goblins, right? Moon Clan goblins. Any of those will work. So it pieces in very well if you want different styles of support. And it's generally, again, like a fun army to play, very, very dice dependent. But there are ways, like I've just pointed out here, to mitigate that by providing yourself more chances to roll those dice. And that's how you'll win.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fun in the approach this army has, just pure volume, pure position, pure movement, and I can see it being a lot of fun to run. I know, like it's definitely not a typical top tier competitive list, but I think it has the potential to be piloted to very strong results, just because it has those fundamentals. If you make the right choices in battle tactics and kind of have your 5-turn plan from turn.
Yep. And even if you don't, the great thing is you have a basic plan with them. You have an idea of what you want them to do. They're able to adapt to a situation because of the kind of special abilities that you have, right? If you're up against a shooting army and you can't plan on getting, across the table by turn 2 to overwhelm them on objectives, hang out by the woods, let them have to come closer as you just feed out your 1 or 2 expendable units that you already have plans to be expendable, right? Getting the objectives because you own the objectives, and then force their hand that way. Like you do have to play a very decision intense game just to kind of hold your own against anybody, really. But the rewards of it are actually very good because it's a very good army to learn the game on. You're learning how to maximize damage in every phase of the game because the army plays every phase of the game. It doesn't shirk away from any of it. And it's simple enough that you don't have to worry about memorizing a ton of rules. Just, 5 war scrolls, 6 war scrolls, whatever you want to bring. Get to know them well, get to know how bad they'll fail, and then, play with that knowledge. And they'll be dependably chaotic, I guess would be the right way to say it.
Well, that's the fun way to think about it, I guess. But this is great. I think we've got a good sense for at least people who are interested in playing them, how they work, or what you can do with them. And for those who run into a spider army, guys out there, ladies, from listening to this episode, you are far better equipped than the vast majority of the player base to deal with spiders as at this point.
And, if you do want to run spiders, they're also a fairly cheap army now, right? Compared to some of the others that are out there. Your main model, there's 2 boxes. There's 2 boxes essentially that you have to buy to do the entire army. And the first time you've assembled both of those boxes, now you know how that goes. And the rest of those assemblies get easier and easier every time. right? Because you're going to have to build a lot of spiders one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm sure by your 70th spider rider, you're pretty much like doing your sleep, but also very tired. At least they're quick hits.
Yeah. I generally after your first box, because they're so simple, right? It's very easy to pick up and go. And if that kind of play excites you, then I want to see more spoods on the table. They're so delightful. They're a fun army.
Yeah.
That's fun. Well, good stuff. I guess with that, I think our dear listeners have probably been saturated in the silken strands of knowledge that you have given and preferred. Do we have any final words, or should we try to find the last word and give these guys a chance to go tell their friends and like and subscribe and all the good things?
Oh, yeah. Well, special me talking after. I don't know. Spider Silk? Arachnarok?
I think we've wrapped this one up. I don't think there's any more spinnerets I can add to this. Fun note. Those things at the front of their faces are called pedipalps.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pedipalps might have to be the last word.
I learned something new today.
Yep. I'm here to teach you useless science facts. Pedipalps.
Well, there you go, everyone out there. The more you know.
Hello, everybody. It is Rocco, your boy, coming at you once again with another Always Strikes Last promo. That's right. Ring that bell. Leave a like, a subscribe. On whatever platform you're listening to us on, be it YouTube, be it Podbean, whatever you got these days, so you can keep up to date. Don't forget, we have a Patreon if you want to, give us a thank you for all the stuff we put out. That gets you into our member-exclusive Discord. And if you want to be an even bigger supporter, we've got a merch store.